Today's video, B45 bus announcements to downtown Brooklyn Court Street, via Nova. Enjoy the video. This is B45 to downtown Brooklyn Court Street. A fare is required to ride. This stop is St. John's Place and Ralph Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and Buffalo Avenue. This stop is St. John's Place and Buffalo Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and Rochester Avenue. This stop is St. John's Place and Rochester Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and Utica Avenue. Transfer available to B46. This stop is St. John's Place and Utica Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and Schenectady Avenue. This stop is St. John's Place and Schenectady Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and Troy Avenue. This stop is St. John's Place and Troy Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and Albany Avenue. This stop is St. John's Place and Albany Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and Kingston Avenue. Transfer available to B43. This stop is St. John's Place and Kingston Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and Brooklyn Avenue. Transfer available to B43. This stop is St. John's Place and Brooklyn Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and New York Avenue. Transfer available to B44. This stop is St. John's Place and New York Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and Nostrand Avenue. Transfers available to B44 and B44 SBS. This stop is St. John's Place and Nostrand Avenue. Next stop, St. John's Place and Rogers Avenue. Transfers available to B44 SBS and B49. This stop is St. John's Place and Rogers Avenue. Next stop, Sterling Place and Bedford Avenue. Transfer available to B49. This stop is Sterling Place and Bedford Avenue. Next stop, Sterling Place and Franklin Avenue. Transfers available to the S train and B48. This stop is Sterling Place and Franklin Avenue. Next stop, Sterling Place and Classen Avenue. Transfer available to B48. This stop is Sterling Place and Classen Avenue. Next stop, Sterling Place and Washington Avenue. This stop is Sterling Place and Washington Avenue. Next stop, Washington Avenue and Prospect Place. This stop is Washington Avenue and Prospect Place. Next stop, Washington Avenue and Bergen Street. This stop is Washington Avenue and Bergen Street. Next stop, Washington Avenue and Pacific Street. This stop is Washington Avenue and Pacific Street. Next stop, Atlantic Avenue and Waverly Avenue. This stop is Atlantic Avenue and Waverly Avenue. Next stop, Atlantic Avenue and Vanderbilt Avenue. Transfer available to B69. This stop is Atlantic Avenue and Vanderbilt Avenue. Next stop, Atlantic Avenue and Carlton Avenue. This stop is Atlantic Avenue and Carlton Avenue. Next stop, Atlantic Avenue and South Portland Avenue. This stop is Atlantic Avenue and South Portland Avenue. Next stop, Flatbush Avenue and Atlantic Avenue. Transfers available to the 2, 3, 4, 5, B, D, N, Q and R trains. Long Island Railroad, B37, B41 Limited, B63 and B67. This stop is Flatbush Avenue and Atlantic Avenue. Next stop, Livingston Street and Nevin Street. Transfers available to the 2, 3, 4 and 5 trains and B103 Limited. This stop is Livingston Street and Nevin Street. Next stop, Livingston Street and Bond Street. Transfers available to the A, C and G trains, B25, B26, B38 and B52. This stop is Livingston Street and Bond Street. Next stop, Livingston Street and Hoyt Street. Transfers available to the 2 and 3 trains. This stop is Livingston Street and Hoyt Street. Next stop, Livingston Street and Smith Street. Transfers available to B25, B26, B38, B41 Limited, B52, B57, B61, B62, B67 and B103 Limited. This stop is Livingston Street and Smith Street. Next stop, Livingston Street and Court Street. Transfers available to the 4 and 5 trains. This stop is Livingston Street and Court Street. This is B45 to downtown Brooklyn Court Street. A fare is required to ride.